probably wondering, when are you going to learn anything? Okay, you're going to learn something tonight, but when's the moment where you know that you've learned something? And guess what? You'll never know until 3, 4, 5 weeks down the road. All of a sudden, someone will be looking over your shoulder, being like, "Damn, how did you do that?" And you'd be like, "Little do you know, I don't know anything." Okay, so some people are your friends, your family, any coworkers. They'll all of a sudden start observing what you're working on and be like, "Whoa, how did you become a wizard at something?" And it will happen. That light bulb moment will be invisible, but it'll be 3, 4 weeks in. Like I said, my name is Jeff Passetti. Jesse mentioned I'm a professor at Syracuse University. I'm also a full-time web developer for SU, specifically the Newhouse School. It's a school of public communications, journalism, advertising, television, radio, film. And I work there 9 to 5 as a web developer, and then I teach web design 5 to 8 p.m. I'm actually teaching 2 college courses as we speak. But those bastards are on spring break this week, so you get me for a full week. Beautiful. I have students from all over the world at SU. I have Chinese students. One student in particular is going back to China for the week and coming back home, all the way to Hong Kong, 22 hours, and then coming back 22 hours. And some of my students are going to different parts of the country. Some tropical places. Like I said, those bastards are out, and I get you guys for this week. And I've been teaching at SU for the past 10 years. Been teaching web development. And here's the secret sauce to teaching web development at SU, or just teaching in general, whether it's at high school, community college, or anything. Teaching allows you to learn, okay? So I didn't go to school for web design. I've been teaching web design and learning as I've gone the entire time. I thought I knew web development when I first started teaching, and I barely knew HTML, I barely knew CSS, and as soon as I started teaching it, it forced me to learn it from top to bottom, and I immediately became a better programmer, better designer, and all that fun stuff. But I want to first present my work and talk to you about who I am and what my background is, and you're going to notice a lot of parallels between you and I. One theme that has defined my career in the past 15 years is evolving, evolution. Art illustration. I went to college for art illustration, painting, drawing. I love doing all of that. And while I was going to school for illustration, I learned how to design. And after school, I learned how to program. And basically, I graduated in 2004. And that used to feel like yesterday, but now it's like 5 years becomes 10 years. It's double digits now since I've graduated. Now it's like 15 years. It's like, where is all this time going? 37. But over between being 18 years old to being 37 years old, I have been curious on how things work. It's actually a bug inside me. I think I learned design because I saw someone else designing something cool, and I looked over their shoulder and I was like, what do they know that I don't know? And when I got into web development, it literally started the same way, a couple ways. I first had clients ask me, can you do a website? Like, sure, no problem. Don't know how to do that, but I'll figure it out. But I also saw some friends and some colleagues working on some web development, saw some animation and things move around, and I was like, whoa, what do they know? And they're like, oh, Jeff, you're an artist. Do you want to know anything about that? I will learn that. So I've had a chip on my shoulder for the past, 18, 19 years. All right, so my evolution has gone from illustration to design to programming. Let me show you examples of this. Well, in illustration, I learned how to problem solve. I learned how to sketch fast. I come up with a ton of solutions, thumbnail sketches. I might have been presented a problem of illustrating an article in a newspaper, but the illustration needed to be, 2 inches by 2 inches, grayscale, black and white, or something like that. I started to work within some constraints. I learned how to develop multiple concepts very quickly, multiple ideas. Your first idea is usually terrible. Your second idea is getting something. Your third idea is digging. It gets better and better. I used to come up with 10 to 15 thumbnail sketches for certain projects. And through illustration, I've learned how to work solo and freelance and take care of myself and meet deadlines, even invoice and all that fun stuff. So while in college, I started to draw a lot, observational drawing, going to nightclubs, drawing things, drawing people. I used to be the sketchy guy in the diner that's in the corner watching people, but sketching at the same time, observing people's faces, attitudes. I feel like every person's face tells a story. I used to try to capture that and work it into my artwork and into my paintings. I started making a transition from drawing into painting a little bit. This is an example of that, drawing with pen and ink, and then watercoloring underneath that, Jimi Hendrix. But I really turned a corner when I took illustration and I combined it with digital art and digital typography. I had a few friends at SU that were graphic design majors, and they're like, Jeff, you need to come take a graphic design course. And I was like, nah, I don't know. I don't really want to do logos or brochures or anything crazy like that. But my friends convinced me to do that. And one of the first projects we did was a typographic poster. And I chose to do a music poster, a classic jazz poster, Dizzy Gillespie. And the moment I changed was when I did the traditional artwork, I scanned it in, put it up on the screen. I started to lay out some type, but what I did was I took the eyedropper tool in Photoshop, took the eyedropper, and I was like, oh, what color do I want to make this typeface? So I went and I plucked with the eyedropper the exact red from this trumpet, or this blue from this watercolor blue, this violet from the jacket. And all of a sudden, my artwork and my designs were starting to become unified. And I kept going with that more and more. And I sketched out, or I drew something traditionally in pen and ink, and I scanned it, and I found out through Photoshop and other programs you can alter the color of that black ink. I changed the black ink to orange, or to blue, or to yellow. And then I typed out some letters, like Louis, and what you can do is you can create outlines. You can make an actual shape. Take this artwork, and I pasted it into the letters, so that texture in there is actually the sketch being placed in. And then I did typography and did a set of artwork. I started to change. I started to love it. I finally felt like my illustration had context, had purpose, had a commercial purpose. A lot of my classmates in art illustration were going down the fine art route, where you would do some beautiful artwork and paintings and hang it up in a gallery or something. But I needed real context. So one of my classmates at the university at the time, she was the head of booking concerts for the student organization, student union. And I overheard her one day talking about, oh, we just booked George Clinton and P-Funk All-Stars for a block party. And I was like, oh, George Clinton, that'd be a cool poster to do. Just thinking to myself. And then I was thinking, oh, I should go talk to her and propose to her to make a poster for the event. And I was like, no. All of a sudden, a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back to my apartment tonight. I'm going to do a poster myself. And then I'm going to, the next morning, bring it into her office and be like, so I heard you need a poster. Do you need a poster? Okay, I literally did that, and her mouth dropped. It was one of the first feelings of being like, damn, I actually grabbed onto an idea, I executed it, I brought it in, and it's serving a purpose, a bigger purpose. And since 2003, I've been doing this with various projects and posters and all that fun stuff. A couple years later, Ben Folds came to the university, and I pulled the same maneuver. I just did a poster on the fly and walked it in and presented it. And but through doing these different designs and artwork, I learned different techniques. So in this, I actually did it all digitally, but I scanned I scanned ink texture. I took a brayer, it's an ink roller, rolled out some ink on a piece of paper, scanned in that piece of paper, and then placed it into shapes. I made this shape digitally, this piano shape, and then pasted in this scan of ink brayer texture. And then through the digital programs like Photoshop, I was able to change the black ink texture to purple, or to orange, or to yellow. And I was starting to really mash together artistic layers, digitally and traditionally, for that matter. Segue into designing. So in illustration major. My friends tell me you got to take a design course, so I took a couple courses, loved it. Then I started doing freelance work while in school, and I learned how to do logos and brochures and posters. I started thinking about a visual strategy because this artwork, these designs, were going to be for different mediums. They're going to be for maybe an email promotion, a billboard, a business card, a poster. It's not just that traditional illustration where I was designing for a specific size. I mentioned 2x2 grayscale in a newspaper. It was about all these different mediums. And once again, it reinforced freelancing, invoicing, meeting deadlines, and collaborating, possibly working with a creative director, an art director, getting feedback from the client. Okay, so I did logos for the university, for the area, for different nonprofits, and these are a few ones. If you've ever been in Camillus, New York, old Mexican restaurant that has since closed, I believe, Boom Boom Mex Mex. It's one of my most proudest freelance clients because I requested not to get paid. Instead, I bartered for free Mexican food. Okay, that is the best deal ever.
That's good food.
And it's good food, yeah. So they've closed, so therefore I have lost weight. It's been amazing. I'm not going to show you all these designs I've done. I'll be showing you work that I've done throughout the next few weeks. But segue into programming, I was doing these logos, I was doing these posters and brochures for these clients circa 2004, 2005. And the client started asking me, Jeff, can you do a website? Like I mentioned earlier, I said, sure, no problem. Sure, I don't think I could even Google it then. I guess you could use Google back in 2005, but it didn't have all the resources. Do we even remember what 2005 was like? It feels like a while ago. Anyways, so yeah, I figured it out. I figured out how to do HTML, how to figure out how to do CSS, and I had clients ask me how to do Flash websites. And I was like, sure, no problem. My life is ruined. And I really read tutorials and books, and I fumbled my way through ActionScript. It's a language for these Flash applications. Doesn't really exist too much anymore, so don't worry about that. It's the language of the devil. It's terrible. Anyways, the programming, I learned about, people actually have to use my work, my websites that I design. I can't just make pretty websites. People actually have to use them to get from point A to point B. Google has to find my website, so I can't not ignore SEO, search engine optimization. Now, fast forward to 2013, 14, 15, I gotta make sure that my sites are mobile first and responsive, that they display okay on a tablet, on a desktop, and a mobile device, not just one medium. And then nowadays, 2018, 2019, the websites that I'm working on are now bigger than what one person can work on. I used to do what I call brochure websites. Like a simple business website, who we are, what we do, how to contact us. Much like a paper brochure, but in a website form. I could do those in my sleep. But now I'm working on larger enterprise level websites for the school that have many pages, many different types of users, many different goals, and responsive and all these things. Now it's like almost these websites are kind of like an octopus, and there's 8 tentacles that I have to take care of. So collaboration is essential. I work with another developer at the Newhouse School. I also work with content editor, and I am like the designer and a developer at the school. So I'm more of a art director, and my colleague, I'll talk more about in the future, he's more of an engineer. Or I'm more of an architect, and he's more of an engineer, and we kind of complement each other in working. Here's an example. This is what I like to really do nowadays. I like to come up with a look, start maybe with a logo, segueing into website design, segueing into doing the programming, and actually doing interaction in the WordPress, the content management system side. So in 2014, this Newhouse School turned 50 years old. So I first came up with a quick logo that got approved. Then I came up with a design for a landing page and about the school, and then a big call to action, visit timeline, or view timeline. And through clicking that, then it unravels and it goes to a timeline that the user can interact with. And really quickly, if I go to Newhouse 50, syr.edu, Even the animation, let me just refresh that. Even the animation, the unraveling animation I love doing. If I hit view timeline, I really enjoyed coming out with this unravel look. How timelines kind of just spiral out, and then when you interact with certain events, a little subtle animation, a little opacity change, a little raising it up, or if you click up here to a different decade, and the whole train of slides moves. If you click on one of the slides, it kind of creates an overlay, and you start reading the article or watching the video. You can always X out and go back to the timeline. I also made a different button to switch to list view. When you click that, instead of a big train, it's now a listed out timeline view. And this is 2014. This is one of my first big projects where I combined design, the logo design, the HTML and the CSS, the JavaScript to make some of the fanciness and the movie, and it's all powered by WordPress. Does it look like WordPress? No. No. Yes. That's my bread and butter. I love using and abusing a content management system like WordPress. Use it to store content in a database, and then I come up with the code to kind of get it out and display it in a unique interface. And ever since then, that's my type of approach to web design is how many layers can I merge together to make a seamless experience. Okay, however, I'm not perfect. It's 2019, I've been a professional for 15, 20 years. I've made many mistakes. Number one mistake that I've done over the years is designing without knowing too much about code. Okay, I used to design as if I'm designing a poster or a magazine spread or newspaper. I used to have overlapping objects, rotated objects, drop shadows, crazy little things. At the time, you couldn't do that. Nowadays, you can do a little bit more with code. So the more I learned about HTML, the more I learned about CSS and JavaScript, my designs got smarter. They got more refined and actually tailored to what is possible in the browser. Number two, quite often I would start a project completely enthusiastic, dive in, start working right away, but I've also ignored planning, researching, and establishing a project scope. I get through a project, and a lot of you will feel this pain someday. You'll get through a project 60%, maybe 65, 70%, pure success, and roughly around that mark, 65, 70%, and all of a sudden it starts to fall apart because you didn't research and plan and establish scope. Researching and planning, that's about knowing your user more and knowing what is entailed in an entire project. But then establishing project scope, this little thing is about protecting yourself from clients requesting too many things. At the very beginning of the project, it's nice to nail down what are you going to do for a project. What's A, what's B, what's C, what are the objectives? And then get that almost in writing and agreed upon so that later on in the project, your client doesn't add on things or change things on you, which may or may not affect your bottom line, your money, their money, etc. Number three, and I still do this today, but I try not to. I don't know the word no. Okay, so I often try to do too much in life between professional work, freelance work, teaching, all that fun stuff. And I also I come up with these grand ideas, and I over-engineer it, and I don't even get something off the ground. So 2018-19, my motto is start simple and scale up one piece at a time. Don't think of the Mona Lisa or the Van Gogh painting right away. Start just doing baby steps, chipping away at something, almost like a capstone project. Don't try to over-engineer it. Start simple and scale up. Develop traits along the way, along 15, 20 years. Number one thing is I'm fearless. I don't know why. I used to be a shy kid. I don't know what switched in me. I used to be a class clown, but a little bit shy at the same time. But the fearlessness has brought me into going from art to design to programming. It was when I would be talking to a client, they'd ask for a website, and I was fearless enough, foolish enough to say, sure, no problem. But persistent, where I would run home and figure it out and produce a project or a product. Number three, talk about being curious. And then number four, you're going to meet a lot of people that
talk a lot, but don't actually do a lot. Maybe some of you are like that. I want you to start adapting this phrase, less talking, more doing. Okay, I'll talk a lot tonight. I apologize. But we are going to do something tonight. You're here, hopefully, because you want to do less talking and more doing. You don't want to talk about being a programmer or a web designer. You actually want to start doing it. And there's a big difference between those two types of people. We're all guilty of talking up a big game about certain things, but I think the most successful people that you'll meet are really people that are fearless, persistent, curious, and they just do more and talk less. So fearlessness brought me through this. One of the clients asked me for websites. I said, sure, no problem. Then I researched HTML, came across this. And at first I was like, oh God, what is this? I don't know what this is. I see these little greater than less than signs, or sorry, these carets, these brackets. I see quotes, I see equal signs. But then I calm down after a little bit and I start to notice some patterns. I see an opening tag, opening header, and a slash header. That kind of looks to me like start something and stop something. A tag, I have no idea what A means, but I see a hyperreference equals Starbucks.com. Okay, maybe hyperreference is like a link. And I see IMG. Well, IMG definitely stands for image. The source of the image is images/Starbucks logo.jpg. That's a bio. Okay. Alternate text, something about Starbucks. Stumbled through this, maybe selected all, copied it, pasted it into my own website, and hit preview. And I paused. I apologize. In high school, I graduated high school in 2000. So from 96 to 2000, a couple of friends of mine, we got together one summer and we built a little website together without knowing anything about HTML and CSS. I published a website on geocities.com. Anyone remember GeoCities? Angel Fire? You got 5 megabytes of free space. This is pre-LiveJournal or Blogger, if you will. This is way, way back. So what my friends and I used to do is go to a real website, open up the source code, select all, copy, paste in the GeoCities, and preview or publish and see what shows up. Half of it showed up, and I had question marks all over the place, broken image links. Oh, okay, maybe I don't have Starbucks logo. Okay, grab Starbucks logo, upload it, and see the question mark disappear and actually turn into a real image. And in doing so, that was like a crash course in high school for me. Didn't ever think I would do anything with that knowledge until 2004, 2005, when clients started to ask me for websites. So when I got into websites, some of my friends who were already in web design, they're like, oh, you need to use CSS. And I was like, see what? What the hell is CSS? In my head, I'm starting to panic because I've heard of Objective-C, C#, the C language. And I was like, see you later. I don't want to learn that. This is terrible. And I couldn't have been more wrong. CSS, as you're going to know, as you're going to learn it, as you've already probably learned maybe in one of your prior little crash courses, it's nothing like the C language. It's very easy to read. So I just crashed through this. A main selector, I see width something, background color something, padding something, color something, border something. Okay, I change a number here, I change a color here, change a width here, hit save, preview, and see what changes. So I crashed my way through it, and actually I really started to enjoy CSS. It's one of my favorite things to work on in programming and web design for that matter. Back to Flash websites. Oh, those bastard Flash websites. Apple did a nice thing in 2007, 2008. They came out with the iPad and iPhone. And one thing that Apple did was announce to the entire world that Flash websites are not allowed on these devices. For a few reasons. Number one, Flash websites used to be very memory intensive, RAM intensive. Really slow your website down, or take a lot from your computer to actually produce the animations and bells and whistles that would go on these websites. So when iPhones and iPads were coming out, Steve Jobs of Apple was trying to promise the entire industry that we're going to have 8 hours of battery life. Okay? 8 hours. Let's do a collective laugh, because there's never been 8 hours on any device, let alone these computers or anything. Nothing lasts 8 hours without being plugged in. But regardless, so in order to produce 8 hours of battery life, they were desperate to save RAM and energy. So that's why they really disallowed Flash, because if Flash websites were running, it really drained the battery from those mobile devices. Also, Apple, Adobe had a little beef, had a little rivalry dating back to the 90s. I don't really know. So it was Steve Jobs' way of censorship, but giving them the finger, so to speak, a little knife in the back or something like that. But I was one of the few people who were like, yes, no more Flash websites, no more Flash websites, amazing. So the nerds and the geeks, they got together and they panicked because no more Flash, but what about fancy animated websites? Our clients want these types of websites. What are we gonna do? So one nerd or geek at a conference said, well, what about JavaScript? That's my nerdy accent. And everyone's like, nah, JavaScript. JavaScript is this language that's been out since the very beginning of the internet, circa, I don't know. When I say beginning of the internet, I'll talk about it a little bit, but that's like the 70s, but the popular internet was roughly the mid-90s. And JavaScript has been around since the very beginning of it. No one wants to program in JavaScript, so the nerds and geeks, they developed what's called jQuery. And jQuery is a library that sits on top of JavaScript, and it contains all the redundant things you would ever want to do with a website. Things based on clicks, things based on hovers, different events. And they took all the redundant things you'd ever want to do in old-fashioned JavaScript and made it easy to do with jQuery. And so jQuery is like a simple shorthand code that queries the long JavaScript library, if you will. This was the replacement to Flash websites circa 2009, 2010. So I came across code like this, and once again, I was like, why is my life so complicated? I don't understand this. I never took a computer science course. I just got through ActionScript barely. Okay, luckily I had some good friends that helped me out. So when I saw this, okay, cache sign slide class, okay, hover, when you hover on slide, something happens, jQuery takes this and animates it to, a different color or opacity, different top position, kind of moves it. And then I don't know what comma another function means, but changes the color to something else and changes the top position. Stumbling through tutorials and documentation like this, I was able to teach myself jQuery and actually started to love jQuery. I actually learned jQuery before learning more about JavaScript. And then I had clients ask me, oh, thank you for the website, it's amazing, but can we edit it ourselves? Because Jeff, we can't just keep contacting you every single day to update this static website. We want to edit it. So I was like, sure, no problem. Content management system coming right up. How do I do a content management system? So circa 2010, 2011, WordPress started to become more and more open source. WordPress came out in 2004 as a blogging platform in response to like LiveJournal and Blogger and all that stuff. But in the late 2000s, they started to take and give out their entire source code to install on your own custom domain for free. It was amazing. So I started reading documentation about it, and I started to stumble across this stuff, and I was like, sweet Jesus, what the hell is this about? If have posts, while have posts, the posts. Okay, and I see something about the title and the content, okay? But I slowly learned what conditional was. If have post returns true, simple while loop, while something remains true, keep giving me the damn post. And I learned that it doesn't actually give you the post. It kind of puts the post information into the server's memory, and then I get to call out the title, the content, give us my voice. What does open H1, close H1, the content, and then eventually stuff to close out. Started reading more tutorials, and then I started to understand what's called the WordPress loop. Didn't know anything about loops or anything like that in computer science, but I stumbled my way through and started to enjoy it. I actually started to enjoy going from that logo design to the website design to the content management system. Because before that, without knowing how to do all that stuff, I used to do things like I might have come up with a design of a website and then handed it off to a developer to put together. And a developer would do mostly a nice job, but they would often miss details that I would be obsessed with: typographic settings, space alignment, certain colors, and certain fonts, etc. I used to get really upset. Then I would always request access to go fix it myself. And so I started learning more about HTML, CSS. And then I'd hand it off to certain developers and they build a content management system, and that looked like complete magic. I was like, what are they doing that I don't know how to do? And I stumbled my way into WordPress. And now I can control an entire project all the way from point A to point A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I don't know what the end point is. Now it's like too many steps. In doing so, that evolution, I learned how to design, I learned how to program, and more importantly, I learned how to collaborate and rely on others. And I'll show you eventually these different websites in the future, but this is the one I showed you earlier. I love the intersection between art, design, programming, and even WordPress and all that stuff. And responsive web design, making it mobile friendly and tablet friendly. I got married in 2012, but being a designer, your wedding is the worst project ever. Okay? You want to design everything for your beautiful wedding. You want to do the logo. You want to do the postcard, the website. I ended up doing it, but what I tried to do and challenge myself was take a static design like this and bring it to life on a website. So I use this as a background in the website, and I had code select the sailboat shapes or the clouds, and with jQuery and JavaScript, I animated the clouds to move in and subtly move at different speeds to kind of give it life. And ever since then, I've been hyper-focused on incorporating a little bit of animation into my websites. Also, now that I'm doing all this digital stuff, and I do more and more Adobe Illustrator, I want to come back and do a traditional illustration. I don't use the pen and ink anymore, like you saw before the Jimi Hendrix portrait. I now reach for Adobe Illustrator, the pen tool, shapes. This is a portrait of Bob Costas. These are alums of SU. This guy's a music agent. His name is Rob Light. Tonya O'Connor, she's the CEO of Univision TV network. And I do magazine covers, alumni magazines for SU, but very digitally and almost to the point where I could code it if I really wanted to. And more digital portraits. So I haven't really completely given up on illustration. I just kind of work it into some of my projects as much as I can, whether it's a logo, whether it's a big illustration. And with this illustration, I don't have the final result, but what I really wanted to do was, yes, use triangles and shapes, but hook up code to it so that when it loads on the website, my code would loop through all the pieces and assemble the pieces like Lego blocks. And I got it to work, but then it looked a little weird. Compositing a face, like one eyeball comes in, another eyeball comes in, lips come in. It was a little awkward. Didn't look as sexy as I was envisioning, but I challenge myself now to incorporate code and design. I still do magazine covers, or I do white paper reports for the United Nations and SU. We do collaborations and about Syria, about Iraq, about things going on in the Middle East. We have law professors write these epic long white papers about genocide, and they needed a design in the middle, they needed a cover illustration, they need some infographics, and I often say yes, just as an excuse to do more things. Here's my current obsession right now, and I'm completely raw to this, and it's creative coding and generative art. Using code to, in this example, I have code plotting, almost like pen plotter, points down, changing the radiuses, changing the colors or the opacity. And with this one program that I'm using, I can actually export this artwork at 300 dpi, high resolution, print it out on a fancy printer, and then frame it on a wall or project it to make like an installation or a museum installation. I can even hook up a data source if I wanted to this and have it be highs and lows temperature-wise for Syracuse, New York. There's not going to be a lot of big circles. It's going to be a lot of cold circles, a lot of blue ones. Not going to be anything giant, warm, yellow ones. Okay, it's not that warm, etc. But got completely inspired by this guy, Matt Disla. I can't pronounce his last name, but he goes around talking about generative art and creative coding. And what he does is make these new prints. Museum exhibits with geometric shapes and all sorts of things. And he's even taking the extra step of putting together libraries and frameworks for anyone to use, including myself, all completely open source. So mattdezel.com, if you will. My daily resources and inspiration. So I constantly scour the internet, if you will, and look for things Codeacademy.com. I think you guys did a chapter or two on codeacademy.com. Excellent way of learning new things. When I was learning more about JavaScript, I think I blew through all the lessons here, as well as Free Code Camp and other places. I love I've been doing HTML and CSS for over 10 years. I'll still go back to these websites once in a while and do all the lessons. And I always challenge myself, am I missing anything? Have I overlooked anything? Or has HTML or CSS brought out anything new over the last 5-6 years that I'm not completely aware of? And JavaScript is completely exploding right now. There's all sorts of things coming out about JavaScript. So you gotta really pay attention to places like Code Academy, teamtreehouse.com, paid subscription, where they have lessons about HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and everything else, WordPress, React, Node, everything. Lynda.com, also a paid subscription. However, I believe if you have a library subscription to Onondaga County libraries, you can log in through a portal and have free access to these. I could be wrong. Anyone confirm?
That is correct.
That is
If you have a
correct.
library card, you can actually access lynda.com.
Yeah.
Oh,
And the videos on Lynda used to be, no, they've completely like redesigned themselves, updated all their content, and it's now completely fresh, and it competes with the likes of Code Academy and Team Treehouse. Here's another website, Stack Overflow. You're not going to go to Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow is going to find you, okay? You're going to Google search a problem that you're having in web design, and this will be, Stack Overflow will be the first or second search result in Google. Any problem that you're going to experience has already been solved 1,000 million times. It's already been documented on one of these message boards like Stack Overflow with a nice answer, with a nice explanation, with things being upchecked or voted up because it's so damn good. Whatever problem you experience, Stack Overflow will have the answer somewhere. You just got to Google search it. And another website that I'll spotlight from time to time, it's All Awards, AWWW, as in World Wide Web. They spotlight an award-winning website per day. And these websites are amazing. They're more amazing than anything you can possibly ever do in your entire lifetime because they are made by agencies. A lot of these award-winning websites are made by teams of people, 10, 20 people. But what they do is they remind me of what you can do with coding, what you can do with design. It's quite too often for me, I fall into basic building blocks on web design. I fall into just basic little layouts, a main column, a sidebar, and I get very quiet with my design. Sometimes when I go and look at these award-winning websites, it wakes me up. It's like, oh my God, I can do loud typography, loud visuals. I can have a video in the background. Oh my God, I can have these other animations. It's just like, whoa, and then I'll often inspect, I'll pop open the code, see what's going on, see how they achieved a certain effect. And I'll just go, and I won't steal it, but I'll start to emulate it and be inspired by things I'm finding. I never rip off a website, but no one owns a special effect in CSS. No one owns a special property in CSS. When I see them in action, I go back to the drawing board and I start to incorporate some of these cool design things. So there's a lot of sites out there kind of like All Awards, but to me, also All Awards features websites from all around the world. And quite often you won't actually be able to read the content on a website because it's in French or Italian or Chinese. That's the best because then you can appreciate the design and the animation, the interface. If you can't read it, good. You can still fumble your way around and judge the overall design of it. Twitter, believe it or not, Twitter is a good resource. Twitter is like a fire hose. There's all sorts of resources. It's a little overwhelming, but what you can start to do is follow certain people. You can follow hashtags. A lot of these hashtags are like little mini fire hoses. There's all sorts of things going on. But in exploring these hashtags, if you just search for the hashtags, you'll start to find people and businesses and agencies and other people writing medium.com posts. All of a sudden, you start to tap into this ecosystem that you were not really part of before that. So Twitter is a great thing. Believe it or not, Pinterest. Anyone? Pinterest? Yeah, Pinterest. You go look for your wedding dresses or whatever else, your fashion advice. But no, if you just Google search web design, Pinterest search web design or responsive design or JavaScript or React or anything like this, you're going to see beautiful examples start to show up. And it's another way of looking at modern design and waking yourself up about what you can possibly do with HTML and CSS and JavaScript. So for me, I always encourage everyone to be ambitious, as in what we're going to do tonight, hopefully time pending. What we do tonight, just because you might understand what's going on tonight, doesn't mean you're going to remember it tomorrow or the next night. So why don't you go home and design and program a little bit more extra practice? I'm a big believer in repetition. You're going to hear me say the word reps 1,000 times throughout the next few weeks. Just because you do it once does not mean it's completely cemented in your brain. Design and programming is one thing in life where you'll completely get back what you put into it. Yeah, you'll be frustrated, you'll have some hard spots, you'll have some victories, it'll be amazing, but the more that you put into it, the more you completely get out of it. It's not a complete dead end. And in my opinion, the last little bullet, in my opinion, if you're not designing and coding right now, somebody else from around the world is already doing it. Some 12-year-old out there probably doing it in a different part of the world or something who's going to get the job. No, not the job, but they're already doing something amazing. So why don't you start doing it yourself? You don't become amazing overnight. You become amazing over a period of time. Preferably 24 weeks. Coincidence. How about that? I mentioned teaching. Teaching, for me, has been the best way to learn. So if you ever get a chance to teach others, share with others, you're going to have a lot of people look over your shoulder and be impressed with what you're working on. Why don't you have them sit down and explain a little bit? I'm not talking about have your parent sit down or your brother or sister or some young sibling sit down and teach them. But if you have a friend who's interested in web design, they're gonna smell something on you. It's called knowledge and experience, and they're gonna want a little bit. But if you can explain what's going on from your code to a stranger, to a family member, it's a good way of learning. Also, pairing together with other classmates here is a great way to learn and explain things. And yeah, and I mentioned, paired programming. Yes, paired programming is a great way to learn. It's actually a methodology put together or put in place at a lot of boot camps. I'm more of a solo person, but pairing together, having someone drive the wheel, so to speak, doing coding, someone else watching over the shoulder, giving you advice, and steering you, just having the other person just being the input person, and switching that role from time to time is a great way to tackle things. It's actually neat to see someone else make mistakes. Okay, I know it sounds stupid, but it's like you're not driving, so it's just you see someone just crashing a wall, making typos. It's actually nice to like help them, correct them, because they're making the same mistakes that you often make. When you observe other people making mistakes, it kind of educates yourself about maybe I'm the same way. So last but not least, two heads are better than one, especially for solving problems. Even professionally, luckily I get to work with one other developer, and if you work for a bigger agency, you'll work with multiple developers or designers, and it's always nice to throw ideas around, throw problems around, and sometimes you just can't solve everything yourself. Another thing I'm going to encourage you to do, I'm not going to force you, but you really should redo all of your assignments 3 months from now. Okay? You're down the road, you're probably in the thick, you're in the weeds, you're doing something. If you ever have a little gap of time, maybe go back to Module 1, Module 2, Module 3, and refactor, redesign some of the code that you worked on. Eventually, you're going to get better and better and better at code, and you're going to realize the stuff that you were doing tonight and the next few weeks was very, very basic and maybe even redundant. Maybe you could pare it down a little bit. Maybe you can improve the code a little bit. So it's a nice hidden resource that not a lot of people take up. Now, you're dedicated for the next 24 weeks. If you're not dedicated, you definitely should be dedicated for the next 24 weeks. You're going to have all sorts of things come up in the next 24 weeks. Some of you might break up with a significant other. Some of you might go through an epic life event. Some of you might have a death in the family. Something might happen. Maybe you'll lose your job and you'll get another job. All these things All these uncontrollable things and sometimes controllable things will happen. Okay? So in doing so, you want to try to control what you can control. What you can control is coming to class on time, coming ahead of time, maybe staying after if you can. Working on things extra time. Next 24 weeks, I'm going to be selfish. Selfish. As in, sorry family, sorry significant other. I can't hang out at this one period of time. Can we hang out another time? I want to do my work tonight. I want to do something Saturday morning while I'm feeling fresh and I'm not super tired. I want to tackle a web design project Saturday morning from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. while no one bothers me. I want you to be selfish. I want you to be selfish with these computers. Don't let anyone else use these computers. Don't have your sibling, your parent, your kid take it over, install Candy Crush. Addictive game. Don't install that. It's crack. Okay, don't install it. Don't install anything on these computers unless it's web design oriented. Form a relationship with these laptops so that every time you open it up, you're going into a zone, space. You're not opening up Facebook, you're not opening up Instagram and Twitter and seeing what's going on. Okay, Twitter for research, but other things, social media, noise, people talking, Donald Trump, blah, blah, blah. Now, quiet that noise and focus on open your code, open your projects. Have that relationship with your laptop. Be selfish with it. Also, anyone exercise besides me? As you can tell, sarcasm. I want you to think about exercise and fitness for the next 24 weeks. I would love to have you do something each day, small. A walk for 15 minutes, maybe a jog if you're so inclined, taking a break. Do something daily that is fitness oriented, that's break, that's non-code oriented. Okay, you can't just be you can't be glued to your screen for 24 straight weeks. It's unhealthy. Trust me, I think I've tried to do it. Also, nutrition. I know it's so stupid. Of course, eat. No, actually, schedule time to eat during the day, during the night, during the weekends. Actually, put it in your to-do list. You know, from 8 a.m. to 8:30, I'm gonna have breakfast. From 8:30 to 10 a.m., I might work on a project, etc. But if you, this is something I skip a lot. Unfortunately, I'm 37 years old, and sometimes I forget to eat lunch. And I fly right through, and I'm doing work, great, and then 4 o'clock rolls around, and I completely crash. Okay? And as I'm getting older, it's harder and harder to recover from crashing. I don't know what it is. I had a couple beers Saturday night. I had 2 beers. Sunday morning, I was just garbage. Okay? I don't know. It took a while for me to shake off 2 beers. Okay? As you get older, more and more things are going to take a while to recover. Social activities are important. Going out, not happy hour necessarily, not to a bar, but just maybe being with friends and family during certain times when you schedule it. All this stuff goes into this little bucket called mental health. And mental health is super important. It's not often talked a lot in development communities and web design. A lot of programmers burn out, and it's because they don't think about all these other things going on in their lives. They're just super dedicated. I am an example. I get super hyper-focused on work. I am the person who sits in bed at night, in the pillow, dark room, and my eyeballs are just staring at the ceiling, and I'm mentally going through code the entire time. And at the same time, I'm not having a relationship with my wife. I'm not there. I'm not with her. I'm not with my dog. I'll talk about my dog in 1 second. I'm not there. I'm somewhere else in web design land. And that's not a healthy relationship to have with your work. So you gotta squeeze in time to blow off steam, exercise. You need to eat right. So you need to schedule time outside of class to be with friends and family, because it all amounts to a better mental health approach. Getting out there. Okay, getting a job is a full-time job. It officially starts now. It starts with going to meetups. We're going to go to a meetup tomorrow night, Syracuse.io and Syracuse Coworks. It's a bunch of nerds and geeks. Okay, they get together once a month. They talk about their issues, or the projects that they're working on. A few people will get together and they discuss a few things. But there's actually an open circle at the very beginning where everyone introduces themselves and talks about why they're there. It's actually a really nice thing to know that there's other people in the community that are interested in web development software development, etc. There's going to be a lot of different people that you meet tomorrow night. Events, hackathon. Jesse, is there a hackathon in April?
April 6th and 7th.
Yeah.
More information to come on that, but mark
Yeah.
your calendars.
24-hour hackathon is a great way to get in there. Now, some of you older, just like me, staying up 24 hours is not the most appealing thing. But actually going to the event and talking to people and networking a little bit, that's the fun part. You don't always have to hack and do anything. You can just observe or meet people or go to the presentations the next day on the Sunday and see what people built and just be inspired. I don't know. Get your cards printed, okay? At some point, get a business card together, because when you go to events and meetups, you want to exchange contact information. You don't want to rip off a piece of paper and scratch down your contact details. Try to be professional a little bit. I recommend vistaprint.com, cheap business cards. You can get 250 of them for, I don't know, very little, $5, $10, $50. Don't quote me on that, but look it up. They have a very intro deal. Having the connections you need to land a gig doesn't happen overnight. It starts now. For me, from professional experience, I have never applied to a job where I put my resume on a big stack of other resumes. I've never gotten a job like that. I've never applied for a job like that. I've been recommended through word of mouth. The one job that I worked on, I did a decent, good job. And then I'm a big believer that if you do a nice job with something, 4, 5, 50 other people will see that project. And of which, of the 50 people, maybe 3 or 4 people need a website. And they'll ask that organization, oh, who did your website? They're gonna be, oh, Jeff Passetti did. Or one of you guys. And then they'll pass on your contact information. So one project leads to 2 projects. 2 projects leads to 4 projects. 4 becomes 8. 8 becomes too many, and you have to start saying no, like I did. So now that doesn't work for everyone, but if you start making those connections and you start doing nice work, one thing leads to the next. It just grows organically. Staying up to date is a battle. Web development is changing ever so quickly. One thing I love to do is listen to a podcast, syntax.fm. Jesse and I listen to it, not together, that would be awkward. You can't listen to a podcast together with earbuds, it would be awkward. But it's 2 guys. One guy lives in Ontario, specifically Hamilton, outside of Toronto, if you will. And the other guy, the other host, is in Denver, Colorado. And they get together and they talk about web development topics. And they inject enthusiasm, they break things down. They also publish their own courses on web development, and they're excellent courses to take. Some of them are free, some of them are paid. And if they're even paid, they're very cheap, $50, $60. So it's one of my favorite resources. You can always go to reddit.com. Reddit is a freaking rabbit hole of all sorts of things, as you probably know. But there is a page about programming. And it's neat to see what people are talking about. But it's a rabbit hole. Go there if you have time. Don't go there if you're, I don't know. Freecodecamp.org. I signed up for Freecodecamp a few years ago, and I did all the lessons, or most of them on there. But the founder of Freecodecamp, his name is Quincy Larson, and he sent out a beautiful newsletter once a week or every couple weeks or something. He put together links and resources and nice reads, and I've learned so many things from newsletters or freecodecamp.org itself. Twitter I mentioned, and ebooks. I would never buy a book in web design. Now you're welcome to buy a book. There's nice books out there. I would argue that there's books. The author of the book probably started to write the book 2 years ago, and it took him a year to write. And then it took 6 months to get it into a publisher. And then it takes another 3 months to be edited. Then it takes another 6 months to be marketed. And by the time it's out in Barnes & Noble or on Amazon, it's already old, it's already obsolete. Maybe the shelf life of relevancy for a proper web design book is 3 months, 4 months. The thing costs you $60, $70, $90. So I highly recommend just searching for certain ebooks. And I'll point out a couple, and I might even give you a couple to read from various sources. But don't, I mean, you can, some of us love books. I love books. Okay, I love books until I moved into a house. Okay, I went from an apartment to a house. No joke, I had 70 book boxes to move. I moved myself and my wife. We moved ourselves. We wanted to save money, not hire a mover. Okay, save money, aka break your own back. And 60, 70 book boxes. I'll never buy a book again. Okay, I'll never buy a DVD again. I'll never buy a physical copy of a video game ever again. Digital. Just keep it all in the cloud, if you will. One thing that you'll sometimes forget to do in the next 24 weeks is to have fun. You're gonna become extremely frustrated at a couple points. You're gonna want to give up. Okay? Go ahead and give up for like 1 hour. Just maybe blow up some steam. Maybe walk out of the room a little bit. Go get a drink. Maybe do a walk outside. Maybe walk to your car. Get into the car and sit there for a couple seconds. And do what most people in the entire world don't do, is get out of the car, walk back to this room, sit down with a calm mind, and be like, raise your hand and ask for help. That's the number one thing I've done over the last 10, 15 years. I've solved all these complex problems. I've satisfied clients' needs. Not because I naturally know how to do that. No, I've asked questions. I've networked. I've researched. I've troubleshooted. I've solved problems. And occasionally, more often than not, I have fun. I'm always here along the way. Hashtag resource for life. No. I'm going to be your resource for the next 3 weeks. But I will be coming back from time to time for the entire 24 weeks. Maybe even do a workshop about creative coding. Maybe in 10 weeks, I show you how to do this and this as I get better. This is the thing I love to do. As I get better at something, I like to share it with you guys and make you guys better and make a little network of awesomeness, etc. Where am I? Okay, to wrap it up almost, this is a metaphor, a visual metaphor. When you look at amazing websites and like, oh, words, or you see amazing people out there doing cool things, all you see is the tip of the iceberg. You see the finished product. What you don't see is all the work that went into it, all the practice, all the trial and error, all the problem solving, all the frustrated nights and evenings that I was just mentioning about going to your car and coming back. All that stuff is part of the process that makes you a better developer. Whew. Questions? Questions, problems? Nothing, no problems, of course. This is my dog. His name is Bilbo. He's a corgi. Bilbo went viral 4 years ago. He's now 4 years old. This is him as a puppy. If you search for corgi pumpkin on the internet, this little video of him went viral. I have 4 million views. He went on Good Morning America, BuzzFeed, Gizmodo, Mashable, etc. He was everywhere for a week or two in 2015 or something. This is when I'm most happiest, when I'm outside hiking with a paintbrush, with a sketchbook, and seeing beautiful autumn colors or a sky. Sometimes I'm happiest when I'm not coding and I'm relaxing for a day, and then I actually get happy while doing code. Other moments of happiness is still doing traditional artwork in work, but it's sketchbook related, not commercial purposes. This is in Boulder, Colorado, the Flatirons. We're out in Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, seeing lighthouses. Lighthouses galore. Something beautiful about a lighthouse. I don't know what it is. I can stare at a lighthouse for 1,000 years. Hiking in Colorado. More hiking from Colorado. Another Flatiron painting. It's the non-coding times that I like a lot. That allows me to be more enthusiastic, more fresh when it comes time to coding. This is a Central Park Zoo, a red panda out in the Grand Canyon, etc. Or me. This is a self-portrait hiking. Anyways, that's me in a nutshell. Any questions, problems? Jesse, anything? Thumbs up? Okay. Let's segue into our first lecture. Enough about me. It's not about me. It's not about you, Jeff. Okay, it's about the students. 24 weeks. They're going to be doing some amazing things, and it starts now.
Yeah, we should take a 5-minute break.
Oh, it is good. Time for a break. There's one thing I do have to budget in is a 9 to 5 to 10 minute break. What time is it right now?
6:53.
6:53. Let's come back at 7:03. Maybe 04 if I'm nice.
Even if you don't want to take a break, get up, walk around a little bit. Trust me, you'll be sitting a lot. Awesome. That's great.
Let's see if this thing's still going. Cool, it is. So I'm just gonna keep that rolling. And then tomorrow we'll do the stream, and what we'll do on your machine. But for today, just do it on QuickTime and then I'll upload to YouTube. That's okay with you.
I can see like why you always have to refine.
Okay. It's like really close to where you know the desk is on it. Comes down the hallway. It's like right out of okay.
If anyone has questions,
Streaming, right?
Yeah. So,
sorry?
So everything that we said is also goes to the classroom. So it's sort of just like the next half of the orientation.
No.
Really the thing like that was and talk about like one
I mean, top is good.
but everything I said is in that basically. So in terms of some part of the stuff that we have, so you really
People that are associated with that.
Yeah, so for the capstone stuff, so sort of thinking about moving on, so you can either make your own project, pass it on, use some communities, role faces, yeah. But the answer is probably yes. But so you can do a project, or you can we're exploring nonprofit partnerships. So you can also go that avenue. So right now we're exploring a partnership with the CSU and a bunch of other ones as well, just in the area. But if you have thoughts, ideas, or questions for like a nonprofit that you might be a good fit, then that's certainly an avenue we'd like to go into. Yeah, so if they have like a website need or any project need, then that's certainly an avenue that
no, I
yeah, you know, this is our first cohort as well, so like we're certainly open to suggestions, thoughts. And
Don't be surprised.
Fits there.
I'm like not
You can take your skills and
I was
yeah,
very cold.
it's exciting. Hopefully that's exciting. Awesome.
That was bad.
Kelly was also.
Did you need me for something?
No, no. Yes, thank you.
Did she get some
with autonomic nervous
I'm so hungry. Me too. Yes, my wife
Yes,
is
I have the same wow. I asked for I begged and it's
Going through the motions.
You know,
It's open source. It's like the go-to for like developer streams or so basically allows you like configure any screens or devices you have, so you can literally just like click into that screen and say like what you want here or up there or whatever. It's really neat. So I bet he uses OBS for his software there, so yeah, it's yeah, for like the resolution, yeah, so probably a good, but like basically like you don't want settings or anything more, or I think like just like really the only thing we're going to capture is the screen, obviously. Would be cool, like I do have webcam as well, so maybe like having the webcam full screen, and then having your like the slides, for example, at the bottom left. And then whenever you're coding, you can just like switch the scenes, and it's really neat. So we'll sort of dive into that more tomorrow. I'll do some homework on my end too. I did it at the Syracuse too, it's actually been working super well. And I really figure out basically try to find an easy way to get all the instructors to do it. In addition, we also have Jake here tuning remotely, so we still have this capability anyway. Good to figure out now. And so he's in New York City, and he was going to Down here, but he also ended up like having a gig.
No, I mean, like.
He was gonna commute up here,
Vista is-
but then ended up getting a new gig, and so now he does about less flexibility to.
Climbing, so, wow, I can't believe you're.
Is it something that affects like your?
No, he
Yeah, no,
he
they,
does.
last year,
See another.
I thought, like,
Yes,
oh,
go
we
to-
were gonna do it, and it,
Might be something like the similar.
but it didn't happen here.
Oh, that's Ben Lennon. He is he's great. He has a lot of experience in I've actually seen him bring a lot about the sort of streaming setup, and it'd be cool if like this was to handle that, and like a lot of universities are as well, which is streaming.
Exactly. Bit
So
later.
yeah, we're sort of figuring out things as we go here, but hey, if it works, like, that's doing just fine with that. And,
Yeah, she doesn't really.
Quick question, my daughter is
I
going
don't.
back for spring break.
The area.
And she talked about
Oh,
it,
you don't?
like that thing.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, totally,
see
absolutely.
that, like, in public?
yes.
Where's she majoring?
TRF?
You're up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if I just took the
Descriptions
Oh
of,
my gosh.
yeah.
Wow.
What's her, what year is she?
Senior.
Senior, okay.
Yeah.
What does she wanna do?
Went to Strand.
Big question, big question.
You know what she's doing right now that she really likes is computational.
Camera and downstairs.
Forensic.
Forensic.
Yeah. She's got that and she's got a social justice, reporting class that's, also very data driven. So,
One of the best students I worked with, I went to students. And they're doing screenplay writing and production and then on the side of
And
their
then, and so he's
think
selling
about
it to
merging ideas together.
I wanted to do more of that,
that one.
she's going to Berlin this summer.
Questions? Sorry.
No, it's fine. I don't know if that's
A lot of contacts.
Or we're just talking all over the country and stuff. Yeah.
There's so
Right,
many,
right.
like, little
So
things
we
that I feel like,
Doctor.
I don't know, I have to think for that.
That's what this time's for, yeah. So think about it. Honestly, something we also have in that, I'd encourage you to read through the capstone document, because there's a lot more in it than say just in terms of like sort of how to approach it. But make a big list of like ideas that you might have. Yeah, and then like ask Jeff, ask Instructor and what the thoughts are. The only thing to keep in mind is just like, is it a feasible thing within the
That I can actually do.
but you know, that said, if you ask, people will help you in sort of informing that. So yeah, it's you know, as long as it's worth well, because it might seem like a crazy thing, but once you get the skills to do it, hopefully you'll be able to build it. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's any ideas you need time, you know, definitely want to It's good. It's where you want to be.
It's funny how like.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Right,
as
right.
long as
Because
they
there
sort of
is
fall into that like nonprofit category.
Yeah, I mean,
then
it's, I mean, that's a, it's like guy who's
We were
running
the sick
Yeah.
okay.
So,
Oh man, well it's so nice.
and there's,
Yeah,
it's like, the city
yeah.
has most of the residents,
Yeah, so
and
I
the county
just
has jurisdiction.
Yeah, these always are stuff.
So I don't know how feasible it is, but I know
Right.
that there's a great need for information, like, centralized.
Yeah, it sounds like that could be, that could definitely be something. Yeah, I can only imagine.
You can't really,
Right,
if you
right.
tried to make something a big mess, you wouldn't come up with all of this.
Especially when there's so many different moving pieces and moving parts.
Federal
And,
stuff, like,
yeah.
you know, there's poor people who have no access to information.
Right. There's actually, so funny enough, so I connected with a gentleman last week on Friday at the Community Foundation, and he sent me a list over of like possible like project ideas, and that very well might have been something I should add to. I actually haven't looked at the email, but Okay.
Community foundation.
Yeah, so that, honestly, yeah,
I
I'll double check that and I'll get more information tomorrow. And yeah, I think that could work out. It could work out really well. So definitely keep thinking.
I have no idea what it is.
Untwist of the kneeling, but
Yeah.
I know it's unbelievable.
Yeah. I know
It's
it's
just
just.
like, it's like
Yeah,
so many
yeah.
layers of an onion that you just, like I said, you couldn't in your worst
Right.
nightmare imagine that this is how the law works. So.
Yeah, I think definitely something there. But yeah, I'll keep you posted on writing the full order for everything as well.
Okay, yeah, and I'll talk to Joe and see if we can get, well, it's not tomorrow, but.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
I'm sure they need something.
Yeah.
Really better situation for
All right, coming back.
Yeah,
30
good.
seconds.
Yep.
Coming back.
Oh, you put it in Slack.
Thank you. Jeff, if it's okay with you, I'm just gonna have Jason say a word or two just on students and stuff. Just for his role, if you don't mind. Thanks, Jeff.
Was that on videotape? Was that on
Yeah, I was gonna say, you wanna go around, it's fine. I think that was wrong on there. Do you have, like, I'm pretty sure.
They have all those.
Did you want the projector?
No, he just
Oh,
said,
yeah.
so,
Like there's-
just if you're
I'll be honest with you, I mean, when I was growing up, there were all kinds of red.
Yeah, everyone's contact,
But I
that might be not too
In the
bad.
New York media area, and.
Yeah, my mom.
Right, so they were.
Yeah. Go ahead.
As a kid, I was like, oh.
You need to have the toys with the little Mercury.
Hey everybody, sorry to. So again, it's so awesome to see you guys again. I'm super excited. I don't want to take too much of Jeff's time. I think I've been able to kind of meet everybody kind of one-on-one. But I just kind of put in my email on the TA and the kind of the staff thing. But basically, just kind of want to figure out the best way to get in touch with you guys. Like I said, I don't want to be a stalker, but I do want to make myself available if you guys need anything.
Find it, you double click it, and on a Mac, it uncompresses it. On a PC, which none of us run a PC, on a PC you have to like often right click on the zip and hit expand here, extract here. On a Mac, all you gotta do is double click, and it opens everything up. But keep it there, just hold on to Starbucks that zip, we'll come back to it in 1 second. Why don't you, for every class coming up, keep one tab open for Google Classroom, because often I'll reference files or PDFs that are posted on there. Download the zip, hang on to the zip once it's there. And I want you to create a folder for you to work in tonight called Starbucks. And you download the zip, don't do anything with the zip right now, just download it. Come back and I want you to create a folder on your desktop called Starbucks. Now, some of you may not have ever created a folder before. A couple ways of doing a new folder on your desktop. To create a new folder on your desktop, you can go up to your Finder. You click on your desktop. You can go up to File, New Folder on a Mac. Same thing with a PC too. But you go up to File, New Folder, and it will create a new folder somewhere on your desktop. It'll often prompt you, well, what do you want to call it? And I'm going to call it Starbucks. So on your desktop, create a blank new folder by going to File, New Folder, and please call it Starbucks. That's one way of creating a new folder. Another way is to control click on your desktop. Control click often gives you that right click. You can also hit 2 fingers on your trackpad. 2 fingers on your trackpad does a right click as well, compared to a single finger click. 2 fingers, you can always hit new folder as well and call it Starbucks, but I'm not going to make 2 of the same.
Everyone have Starbucks.zip downloaded?
Starbucks.zip in your downloads folder or somewhere, but then here comes a new folder called Starbucks. This is on my desktop, along with my other junk. I just made a new folder by going up to File, New Folder, and I'm calling it Starbucks. Lowercase, Starbucks preferably. By the way, tonight's presentation, tonight's workshop is brainwashing you to go buy Starbucks, 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 Starbucks. Questions about new folder? Nothing with the zip yet. We'll get to the zip when we actually go to build something. So let me just recap. Let me go back a little bit. We installed VS Code. We're not doing anything with it right this minute. We downloaded a zip file containing images, a logo, description, assets, basically for tonight's workshop off of Google Classroom. We created a new folder on our desktop, preferably desktop. Now, if you're into file organization and structure, you might want to make a Careers in Code semester, kind of a 24-week folder. And inside that Careers in Code, you put Starbucks in there, or you make week 1 or module 1, and then Starbucks goes in there. Depends on how organized you want to be. I always vote for being more organized than you have to. Let me show you that. If you want to be super hyper organized throughout the entire 24 weeks, I'm going to trash Starbucks folder, and I'm going to go to File, New Folder called Careers in Code. New folder called Careers in Code. Inside Careers in Code, I'm going to make a subfolder. To make a subfolder in Careers in Code, I'm going to go into that folder and go back to the File dropdown, File, New Folder called Module 1. Look at that, Careers in Code, Module 1. And inside Module 1, make a subfolder called Starbucks. Not Starbucks. Folder within a folder within a folder. Ah! But hyper organized. Look at Careers in Code, nice parent folder, or grandparent folder technically. Module 1 parent folder, and a child folder called Starbucks. And then as we work this week, we might add more folders into Module 1. And then as you go on from weeks, we might do Module 2 with subfolders, Module 3 with subfolders, all contained in one parent Careers in Code folder that won't go anywhere, that you won't lose track of.
Sorry, could you just repeat how you got the subfolder?
Yep. Okay. I want to trash all this. You're gonna watch me do it again. My baby's trash. Ah! It's okay. Here comes on my desktop. File, New Folder. Now it goes down to my bottom right corner, but I'm gonna call it Careers in Code. But I'm gonna just drag this folder up. There we go. Open that folder up and go back to File, New Folder. Again, look at whoop, adds, and I'm going to add Module 1. I'm going to go into that folder. I'm going to click into that folder, into this little space, and go back up to File, New Folder again. And I'm going to call this Starbucks. Careers in Code / Module 1 / Starbucks / we're going to put stuff in here and do fun stuff. Questions? New folders. You go to File, you click on New Folder. Questions, folks? By the end of this week, or next week, you're going to be the master of making new files and new folders. Don't worry. If you're stumbling over this, it's fine. Back to my presentation. All right, so just maybe back up one more second. We installed VS Code text editor. We haven't used it yet. We downloaded a zip file. We haven't used it yet, but it has all the images we're going to use. We just made a new folder. This is where the magic is going to start. New folder. And then here we go. We're going to VS Code. We're going to make a blank new file. And we're going to save that blank new file as index.html. And we're going to save it into the Starbucks folder. Let's try that out. Let's go to VS Code. VS Code, Visual Studio Code, File, File, New File. Look at that. Open up top right drop down. File, New File. File, New File. And automatically it comes out as Untitled 1. We're not putting anything in there yet. We are doing a file, save as. I want to save here, but that doesn't really help you get to subfolders. Hit this little icon, gives you the expanded view of the file structure on a Mac. And that's where I'm going to my desktop, to careers and code, to module 1, to Starbucks. And then, and only then, am I saving it as lowercase index.html and saving it into the Starbucks project folder. Let me repeat that. So I'm in VS Code. File, new file. Just a blank new file. File, new file. Boop. When you click it, new tab opens up, usually called Untitled 1. I'm going to go back up there and go to File, Save As. Before I do any magic tonight, I'm going to save this file. And sometimes when you save things on the first time on your Mac, you're going to see this type of view. It's a collapsed view. And you can't see anything going on in your computer. Yeah, you can hit the little drop down, but that doesn't often help you. You got to click this little bottom arrow. Whoop, give me expanded view. Ooh, okay, here comes desktop. Here comes careers and code. Here comes module 1. Here comes Starbucks. And then I am calling it index.html. HTML. Gesundheit. HTML. Lowercase. Now, why index.html? Why would I be calling it index.html? Anyone know why? Why not bananas.html? Why not home.html? Any guesses? It will open up in the browser, yes, correct. I mean, anything called .html will open up in the browser. But why index? Why the word index? When I make my first request to Amazon.com, hypothetically, or NewYorkTimes.com, I hit that server, that GET request. That first GET request, if it's the home page, it usually means give me the index file of that page. It's going to look, the server is going to look in itself, look for index.html. And if it can find it, it will return that to the user. It's usually your first file that gets returned. It's usually your home page file, not your inside page, not your about page, not your contact page. But if someone hits your .com, your root address, the index file is the one that's returned automatically. So if you call your home page home.html and main.html and you upload that to the server, and someone hits your root domain, jeffersonsafe.com, it'll return a 404, file not found. Can't find index, can't find index. Even though I called it home.html server, the server can't read your mind. It's looking for, it's in its protocol to look for index.html. If it can't find index.html, it's going to look for index.php. If it can't find index.php, it's going to look for index.aspx. It goes down to like a little audible. Anyone a football fan? Football? Ah. No one football? Okay, well, here comes a football metaphor for you. Anyone know Peyton Manning? Yeah. Peyton Manning, legendary quarterback. I hate him, but whatever. He's famous for going up to the line. He like reads the defense. He's like, oh shit, I'm gonna get sacked. And he calls a different play. He calls different plays. He calls audibles. He goes through his playbook. And so it's like index.html. Hey, can you find it? No. Index.php. No, I can't find it. ASPX. Blah blah blah. Finally, there's a file not found error message. It turns out, but it's not gonna go down through your server. Be like, where's home.html? Where's bananas? Where's apples.html? No, it's looking for the word index. And it comes back from the beginning days of the internet. In 1994, when the internet became popular, remember the index file? The index was just bullet points of what's in the directory, like almost like a library system website, just bullet points. Because we didn't really paint the website. We didn't make the websites look beautiful. We made it as an index of all the collections, all the resources found outside this website. No one thought you had to make the internet sexy in 1994. So the word index
was created. Okay. There we go. Back to my presentation so I don't deviate and go off the rails. Unzip the file. Starbucks.zip. Go find Starbucks.zip. It's in your downloads folder probably. To get to your downloads folder, I don't know. For me, I can. My downloads folder is right underneath my desktop. If I click on my little Finder icon in the bottom left corner, my Finder, my little face icon, that's your file viewer. And a default file viewer usually has applications, your username folder, desktop, and downloads, not Dropbox, not Creative Cloud, but downloads, and then you can go and find starbucks.zip somewhere. Scroll down, ignore my mess in my downloads folder. It's embarrassing. But find starbucks.zip and open it up. How did I save the HTML file? This one?
No, the Starbucks file.
I want to open it up. So I'm going to go to Google Classroom, Classwork. I am going to Presentations and Files. I'm clicking on starbucks.zip. And, okay, now it's showing you this. Okay, download icon in the top right corner. If you're viewing this, download. And then it goes into my downloads folder. If I show in Finder, there it is. Whoa. Ignore my mess, but I'm going to double click on starbucks.zip. And, oh, ignore mine. On a Mac, it'll just automatically open it up. And what you'll see is this: Americano, Cappuccino, Dolce, .jpeg, Espresso, blah, 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 blah. Is everyone seeing that unzipped? Yeah. Okay. Keep that window, because I want you to grab a file from that document, from that folder. I want you to open up a text file called starbucks-text.txt. Now, watch this. I want you to find the file first, starbucks-text.txt, and I want you to open that up in VS Code. You can simply right-click on it, open it up VS Code, or you can do it the easiest way, is go back to VS Code, go back to File, watch this, File, Open. I'm going to go to my Downloads folder. I'm going to go to Starbucks. Come here, Starbucks. Oh my God, I have to clean this out. This is embarrassing. This is like my bedroom. Starbucks, there we go. And inside that Starbucks folder is starbucks-text.txt. I'm going to open it up in VS Code, and when I open it up in a new tab on VS Code. My old tab is the index.html file. My new tab is my textual content. Everything that we're going to work with tonight, text-wise, is in this file. So how did I do that? Well, I first of all just found my Starbucks folder. Here's all my juicy content. I'm keeping it here. I did it the old-fashioned way. I went to VS Code. I went to File, Open. From within VS Code, I went to File, Open, and then I fetched it myself. Okay, I went to my Downloads folder, found the file, and found Starbucks, come here, Starbucks. Boom, clicked on Starbucks TXT, and open. And it opens up in its own tab. Another way of doing it, the fun way, in my opinion, can be find the file, Starbucks-text. Watch this. If you take that file, click and drag it. It's kind of hard with your trackpad, but you click and hold and drag it. You can drop it into the icon on your dock, and it will open it up in your program. You can do that with any file. If you ever work with other software pieces, if you have the actual file that belongs to the program, you can often drag it down and drop it into the icon. You can do that on a PC as well. It's not a Mac thing. All right. Are you with me? 2 minutes for station identification.
Learn help. Ask. No, I'm totally lost.
what we're doing is we've downloaded files from the internet, from Google Classroom that we're going to use. I always try to give you starter files so that you don't have to go on the internet and go find Starbucks logo and go find the Americano, the cappuccino, or the text content. I usually give things bundled together in a zip file. So you're going to get in the habit of going to Google Classroom, downloading the zip, going finding it, unzipping it, and then using pieces of it. Jesse, the car. Damn it. It sounds like a Ferrari. I thought that was your car, Jesse. Okay. We opened it up in VS Code. The easiest way is to go to File, Open, and browse for your Downloads folder. The cool way was to take the text file, drag it, and drop it into VS Code. You can do anything you want to as long as you're used to it. I like the old-fashioned way. Now it's time to move the content. Okay, we want to move the content from Starbucks text file. We want to select it and copy it and move it over and paste it into our index.html. Has anyone ever selected all before? Okay, who's the first? Is this your first time using a Mac cohesively? So yeah, okay, the first time I used it, I was like, I'm a PC guy. I don't know these keyboards. I don't know this single trackpad. It was misery for a few weeks, and now I'm Mr. Mac guy now. But I got used to it. Now when I'm on a PC, I trip over the keyboard shortcuts. I'm a Mac and PC guy, equal opportunity. But Macs are nice. So to select all on this text file, what's the keyboard shortcut? What do you think? Keyboard shortcut for selecting all.
Command A.
Command A. On a PC, it would be Control A. Hit Command A. It highlights everything in blue. What do you think copy is? Genius, genius, alert. Command C. That's copy. You don't really see anything happen. It's almost like it copies it into the computer's memory. Go over to your tab for index.html, where it's all blank, and paste. It's Command V, not P. Print. That's print. They probably wanted to be paste to be P, but print is more important. Command V. It just dumps all that stuff in there. Beautiful. What's save? What's the keyboard shortcut for save? Command S. I want you to know those shortcuts. Now, you don't have to memorize them right now, but I want you to force yourself to use those. Use your left hand if you're right-handed with the mouse. Vice versa, if you're left-handed with the mouse, use your right hand on keyboard shortcuts. Shortcuts are important. That doesn't mean you're a genius when you use your shortcuts, but it means you're working more efficiently by 10, 15%. You can go a little faster when you have your left hand working with your right hand. Let's open this up in the browser. Let's actually see what this looks like. Now watch what I do to open it up in the browser. I'm going to browse for my desktop, careers in code, module 1, Starbucks, index.html. Now by default, index.html has a little, for me, a Chrome icon on the file. But if I double click it, it opens it up in Chrome. But for you, it might be Safari because you might not have Chrome installed just yet. We're going to work a lot in Chrome, so you might want to download Chrome. Not right now, but overnight, next morning. Chrome is a great tool to work with in web development. All browsers are nice. There's not one browser better than other. Firefox, Chrome, Safari, even, dare I say, Edge, i.e. Microsoft Edge is really nice too. Internet Explorer is the devil. Don't ever speak of Internet Explorer in this classroom. But when I double click that file, index.html, it opens it up in the browser by default, and you're going to see a hot mess. You're going to see a hot mess. You're going to see this. Look at all this stuff. Blah, 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 blah. That's good. That's good. I'll talk about why you see a hot mess, a lump of content, instead of seeing structured content. The browser view. My browser view is this. Or cat throat noise. Anyone have a cat? Anyone grow up with a cat? I think anyone who grew up with a cat knows that universal sound. In the middle of the night, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, you hear the. I joke, but it's true. Art of coding is navigating your computer. And you're brand new to a Mac, so it's going to be a little hard. Here's home base. Home base is this little finder icon in the bottom left corner. Finder. If you click Finder, quite often, whoop, a little window will pop up, allowing you to browse and click on your desktop, click on Careers and Code, Module 1, Starbucks, and index.html. Double click. Questions so far?
I think, do you have an extension?
Nope.
So how are you getting,
Okay, to get it open in your browser, either you can double click on index.html, you can click and drag it into Chrome icon down below, or you can go to Chrome or Safari or whatever and go to File, Open File, Command O also, and you can go browse for it yourself. You can browse for desktop, Careers and Code, Module 1, Starbucks,
Thank you.
index, open. You don't have to double click, you can do it the old fashioned way, and then open it up. All right, you see a mess. Any guesses why you see a complete mess? Like if I look at my code, it's not really coding. If I look at this view in VS Code, I see Starbucks espresso beverages, return, cafe americano, return, price, return, description, return, etc. But when I go and look at it in the browser, I see this. One big, ugly, massive block of text. Even if I pick up the browser and expand it, it's just filling 100% of the browser. Why? Why do I not see pretty headlines, pretty paragraphs, pretty anything? What's missing? Missing elements. I am missing a fundamental thing called HTML, hypertext markup language. I am missing a set of instructions to the browser telling the browser how to structure this. All this is raw content, raw, unstructured content. Yeah, I saved it as index.html. That doesn't do anything. That just kind of sets up the browser to read HTML, but it's waiting for me to write instructions about how to structure something. Let's try this out. Go in front of Starbucks espresso beverages and open up an H1 element and close it after it. Now, VS Code is going to get a little annoying. It's going to try to auto-close things possibly too soon. I don't want to close that element too soon. I want to start it and stop it after that line. I am telling the browser, start a primary headline. Here's the juicy content that goes in the middle, Starbucks espresso beverages. And then that /H1 means stop that headline format. Save, Command S. Go back to your browser, hit Command R for reload. And you're going to see a render. Command R for reload, and you're going to see the H1 be rendered inside the browser. But look at the browser. You don't see H1 close H1. What you see is the rendered result. The browser reads these instructions. Ooh, opening tag, next start stuff, end stuff. And it does it. It gives you the results of starting a headline and stopping the headline. At a very, very basic level, that's all HTML really is. It's a set of instructions, tell the browser when to start something and when to stop something. Let's go to Cafe Americano. H2 opens up, oh, VS Code, stop closing it. Just take that and move it to the end. Save, Command S. Go back to the browser, Command R. Look how I keep these open, almost side by side. You don't have to do it side by side, but at least keep them open and flip back and forth between the two. Oh, ho. So, but once again, you don't see opening H2, you don't see closing H2, you see the rendered result of create a secondary headline and stop a secondary headline. By default, the browser pretends you don't know anything about CSS, about fancy fonts and colors and all that fun stuff. So it's giving you defaults. It's giving you default Times New Roman. It's giving you default 36 pixel font size, font weight bold. It's giving you just the basics. It's even giving you basic margins between your headings. It assumes you don't want your content to touch each other once you start structuring it. But once we get more into CSS, you're going to realize we can do a lot with CSS. We can overwrite those defaults. The price, $3.99. Let's make an H3 element. Rich, full-bodied espresso with hot water in true European styles. That sounds sexy. Let's wrap a paragraph around that, a P element. Now look at this, watch, watch. If you go to do something, it gets super annoying to go back and forth in VS Code. Let's keep it all in the same window. Watch this. In VS Code, you go up to View, and you go down to Toggle Word Wrap. What Toggle Word Wrap means is keep the code, keep the content in the same window of VS Code. No left-right scrolling. That was View, Toggle Word Wrap, and look what happens. Now your paragraph, now your P element begins and ends in the same window. Save, refresh. You don't notice anything too bad, but what happens is you tell the browser to begin a paragraph, end a paragraph. When there's an end of a paragraph, it automatically creates a line break, and it brings the browser down to the next line, assuming that you're about to start a second new paragraph or a new line. Back to the original definition of HTML. This is a set of instructions telling the browser how to structure the raw content in this document. Start something, stop something, start something, stop something, etc. And we're going to obviously repeat this all the way down. We're going to pause. We're not going to go coffee 2, coffee 3, coffee 4. But we are going to do one more coffee. And I want to do one more coffee because I want to show you we're not going to go to H4, H5, H6. We're going to repeat H2, H3, and paragraph. We're going to repeat that structure over and over again because with the repeat structure, we're now telling the user, we're now even telling Google search engine that may or may not be indexing this, that all my coffees, all my children, Americano, latte, eventually mocha, eventually other coffees, they're all equal to each other. They're all H2s on this hierarchical tree. If I made one coffee H3 and another one H2, Google will be at, well, H2, the latte is more important to a search engine than the other coffees. And the answer is no. On a menu, all your menu items are equal, unless you actually literally want to make something a little bit more important.
And question, why does Safari not recognize the E correct, the E apostrophe?
Oh, the special character, the
Special character.
accent? I don't know why. So some browsers need strict HTML character coding. Now don't do this, but some browsers can render the E automatically, and some require this, like, don't do that, but it's not the correct thing. That was the character code for an ampersand, little ampersand amp, semicolon. If a browser reads that, it renders it as the special character. And all the special characters out there, the cash signs, the euro symbol, the whatever I can't think of right now, has character codes. If I Google search HTML character codes, don't do this, just watch. There's a whole page. I'm going to go to W3 Schools page. And they give you a little example right here. I will display a euro. This will also display a euro. This is super technical euro symbol, but they'll all render. You can't just copy this and paste it into your HTML document and expect all browsers across the entire world to render it correctly. You need this. This is very universal now, but this is even tighter. And I have no idea what this actually is the definition of. So the E accent, these are mathematical symbols, these are Greek symbols, these are other entities, and there's somewhere for the accent E.
You used to be able to do this with like all codes, right?
Yes. Yeah. If it's not rendering correctly, just delete it, just type in E. I don't feel like fetching out the character code for special character. Another thing you can do to make your code a little more legible is after the H1, space. After that coffee for Americano, enter. After the latte,
enter. By hitting enter here, you're making your code more readable, but the browser doesn't care that you hit returns in here or tabs or anything. It'll rely on CSS to tell it the true space between items. But by chunking these items together with the enter key, it makes your code a lot more readable.
And how were you able to get your code around the text so quickly?
How to get code around the text so quickly? What I did was, I typed out H2, and I'm like, VS Code. Okay, I take this, and I cut it. Command X, Command X, Command V. Or, look at this sexiness. Watch this. If you highlight something, you can click and drag it. Kind of hard to do on a trackpad, though. I won't recommend it. I recommend cutting and pasting. No, yeah, no special shortcut for that. All right. The last thing we're going to do tonight is, well, first of all, go back to my presentation and make sure I'm not completely off the rails. I moved content, we viewed it in the browser, we looked like a mess, no structure, no HTML. We put in some HTML. Without knowing technical code, without being a complete nerd or geek, you just got right into it. Look at this. No one even questioned me, what the hell is the greater than less than sign doing there? Well, it's the only character that the browser knows to denote that this is a special tag and not real content. Once it sees a greater than less than sign, then an element name, and then a closing greater than less than sign, it's like, ooh, it's speaking, this code is speaking to me, the browser, not the user with raw content. We refreshed the browser, and we noticed that we didn't see any more of the HTML tags in the browser because it's all been rendered. And the translation of all this is start something, stop something, start something, stop something. And elements, that's what all the elements really are at the basic level. Start something and stop doing something. There's more elements that you could use in your page. We just use H1, H2, H3. You can go all the way down to H6, but when we get into search engine optimization more, H1 is super important. Google loves the keywords found inside of H1. It likes H2, but it likes H1 a little bit more. H3, going down to the basement. Once you cross into H4, H5, H6, it's like you're walking into the basement of value. H6 is like a footnote for your research paper or something. It's just like something very, very basic. So I usually cut off at H3, H4. If I need H5, H6, maybe, but really I'll customize H4 to be different levels, but let's not talk about that right now. There's paragraphs. We just did that. And we repeated the markup going all the way down, but we kept repeating H2, H3, paragraph. And congratulations, you just did your first bit of HTML. I want to do one more thing with you, so we can finish on a high note, and that's inserting an image. To insert an image, it starts with the IMG element. Short for image, obviously. Let's do this at the very top of our document. Scroll to the top, 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 top. Push the H1 down a couple lines. Put your cursor in front of that. And type out the word IMG. And optionally, but I like to put the slash greater than less than sign. You don't have to do that anymore. You can really just do HTML. You can just do IMG. Save. Refresh the browser. Boom. The content moves down, but it doesn't know what to do with this image. The browser's like, okay, Jeff, you just told me load an image. And the browser's like, okay, but I don't know where the image is located. I don't know what it's called. Jeff, you need to give me some more information about the image. I need more instructions. I need what's called HTML attributes. An attribute goes inside the element. You need the source. You need the alt. We'll talk about what those two are right now, but source. Source, SRC equals something. Where's the image located? Because there could be there's a million, billion, trillion images out there, or there's 100 images on your computer alone. Which one do you want? Well, browser, I want you to go to the images folder and grab a file called starbucks-logo.svg. I'll get to that in 1 second. Oh my God, that's a lot.
browser. Please go to my images folder and grab Starbucks-logo.svg. Let me start that over again. Do this, please, please, please. Always type it out like this and stare at it for 1.5 seconds and be like, okay, do I have my opening and closing? Did I type that correctly? Yes. Type out src equals quotes and pause right there. Stare at that for 1.5 seconds. Did I spell source correctly? src. I quite often do scr because I get too quick with my fingers. And then answer the question, where is that file located? It's going to be in an images folder in our project folder in about 2 seconds. We don't have that yet. But we will have an images folder, and go into it and grab Starbucks-logo.svg. Save. Refresh. Look at this. What is that noise? I have no idea. That's disappointment. Why do I not see an image in the browser? Why do I have a broken image link? Can't find the image. Let's answer this question. Do we actually have an images folder? No. In the Starbucks project folder, we do not have an images folder. Do we have this file? Obviously the answer is no if you don't even have images folder. So, with me, watch this. I want you to go to your Starbucks folder, and I want you to create a new folder inside it called lowercase images. Look at that. Starbucks, make a new folder called images, all lowercase, matching the source that you just typed into that attribute. Starbucks, images. And, okay, if I hit save and refresh right now, it still doesn't know. It can't find that file. Where do you think that file really is? Where can we get that file? Starbucks-logo.svg. In that zip file that I gave everyone. Watch this. I want you to go back to that zip. Look at it. I'm on Starbucks 3 here. This is what's in your zip file if you've opened it up. Watch this. I want you to Command A. Command A. Select all those juicy little JPEGs in SVG in text file. Watch this. Copy. Command C. Select all. Command A. Command C. Copy. Come back to your new images folder. Ooh, watch this. Starbucks. Images. Oh, don't click. Hold on. Get out of here. Starbucks. Images. I'm just clicking on the folder. Look at that. Images folder is highlighted. My cursor is in this little area. I've clicked. There comes Command V.
So you
Paste.
want us to put everything in the zip?
Yes. Everything from that zip. Select all. Copy it and paste it into the images folder. I know there's some collateral damage. There's Starbucks text. But everything else is JPEG and SVG. Save. Now, watch. Here we go. Ready? Drum roll. Oh my God. Big Starbucks logo punching me in the face, and then my tiny little content below. If you have a full width browser, you just had Miss Starbucks herself just slap you in the face. Let's review what I just did. What did I just do? I went to the zip folder, zip file, but the folder that got unzipped. For me, it's Starbucks 3, because I have multiple Starbucks folders in my downloads folder. And look at this. I want all that juicy content. I want all this. I want all this. Select all. Command A. Command A. Highlights everything blue. Copy. Command C. Then you got to travel to your desktop, to Careers and Code, to Module 1, to Starbucks, to the Images folder, and just I'm going to trash this for 1 second. Ignore that. Here's the Images folder, my empty Images folder. Make sure you have an Images folder. Empty. This is where I'm going to hit Command V, paste. Boom. Now when I go back to the browser and I hit refresh, oh, this logo is like, woo, I'm coming in. I'm an SVG, I'm a scalable vector graphic. I'm scalable, and it's going to scale as big as it possibly can until told otherwise. That's what SVGs do. They scale up to 100% of the available width until you tell it otherwise. And the last little step for tonight is, look at this. I want you to put in a width attribute. Look what I just did. I hit return. I have my image, return, source. return, width equals 150 in quotes, return, close the image element. And what that's saying is, hey browser, yes, create a spot for an image, go load this image, and while you're at it, scale the width down to 150 pixels. I know it doesn't say px, but it's assumed px until told otherwise. Refresh the browser, and it scales the image down to 150 pixel width. It's listening to your instructions. You are telling the browser instructions on how to format content, how to load content, if you will. Browser, load an image. Images, you need to answer two questions. Where is it located? Images folder. And what is it called? Starbucks-logo. I get this question a lot. How does the browser know to start in the images folder in your current Starbucks project folder and not any other images folder on your entire desktop? Well, automatically, where my finger is, where my hand is, the browser is going to start wherever this index file is located on your computer. Your index file is like home base. The images folder is kind of like a brother-sister to index.html. If you look at your folder directory, your images is on the same directory as your index. It's saying go into a subfolder called images and then grab starbucks-logo.svg. You don't do absolute links. You don't do this. Don't type this. C drive / program files / user / jpasset or whatever else. No, you start relative to wherever this index file is located. You just take advantage of that relative linking, relative to wherever this index file is located on your computer. And that's the best way to handle it. Save, refresh. Congratulations. It was a little trouble, a little easy, a little trouble, a little easy, but you navigated well. Next, tomorrow, we're going to do Syracuse.io, but when we come back, we're going to continue on and load all 10 coffee images into this, and even a showcase coffee image. And then we're going to make it sexy looking with some colors and some designs. We're going to match that design from my presentation. We are going to go backwards here. By the end of these few days, we're going to have a design that looks like that. On the left, we just did the logo. We're going to load showcase JPEG in here. We got the H1. We're going to load a little Americano.jpg, and then it's going to be espresso.jpg, and etc. We're going to go down all 10 copies. And then we're going to style it. This is going to be Arial. This is going to be green. This is going to be regular Arial, etc. We're going to declare style properties. And we're going to finish off more about HTML tomorrow. Questions? Now, a couple things though. Did I talk fast? The answer is yes. Okay. But did you hear me repeat myself 2 times, 3 times, 4 times? Hell, I'll repeat myself 5, 6, 7 times. I don't really care. First time you hear something, it's going to go over your head. It's like, what the hell was all that? Second time, oh, okay, I understand a little bit about it. Third time, okay, I get it. Fourth time, cemented. Some of you might happen to the 5th time, 6th time, it's okay. Expect the first time you hear something to completely go over your head, but attack it on the second time, apply it. Raise your hand if you don't get it the 3rd time, etc. But you're going to see me, I loop. So just relax, don't be frustrated. You will get used to the Mac interface. You will get used to the VS Code. You will get used to flipping between code and the browser. Code and the browser. That'll become second nature before you know it. Okay? We're not in codeacademy.com. We're not in free code camp. We're not in that built-in browser editor. We're here in a real text editor that other professionals from around the world have developed for you, that other developers even use professionally, use every single day. You are now coding. Okay? Questions? Jesse? Questions? Oh, your question right now is how does a bill become a law? Okay, well, there's 3 branches of government. There's the legislative, the executive, the judicial. They don't really work. Okay, perfect. Tomorrow night, meet here at 5:30. We'll talk and do some stuff for about, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes. What time is?
6 p.m. So yeah,
6 p.m. We'll head out at 5:55. It takes about 5 minutes or so. maybe 7 minutes to walk down the street to Syracuse Coworks. Are we gonna stay there the entire time? What's the plan? Okay. So we'll do a little bit of HTML, but field trip, and then Wednesday we'll come back and we'll get really into HTML and CSS, and we'll do one more little project before the end of the week. I really want to end the project. I want to end the week with 2 little full examples for you to include in your portfolio.
Any homework or prep work for next
Homework is to watch those code.org videos about how the internet works, and that's it. Maybe just review your notes or review your code before next class. Maybe look ahead in my presentation that I have not covered yet for questions.
You said you wanted us to try to download Chrome.
And download Chrome, yes.
And your other homework will be, that's actually due at 11:55 tonight, just because it's fresh in your head. It'll just be filling out like a super quick feedback survey on how today went. This is our first swing of things, so we're using that data for Jeff to take a look and so that we can keep improving. So if you don't mind, it'll take you 2 to 3 minutes. You don't have to do that every day. That's going to help us tremendously improving the program. So please take a moment. You can do it right now before you leave. Just get it over with. Fill it out. And Jeff will also review it for anyone needing to speak up questions. And Jeff, you as well, if you don't mind, at some point filling out the stats. So there's like an instructor one as well. If you can find it, let me know. But other than that, folks, what do you think? Coding, having fun? Yeah. Cool. All right, thanks so much, Jeff and Jennifer. And we'll meet here tomorrow at 5:30.
Where's the tip jar? Tip jar. Tip jar. Oh, you're snapping, right? Tip jar?
Oh, great question. So if you look under a classroom, under module 1, basically everything that is going to show up in terms of homework, lecture, lesson plans will always be in the corresponding module. So if you go into the Google Classroom, under module 1, you'll see one is now active. Module 1, day 1, 311 student feedback survey. Take you 2 to 3 minutes. You can do it right now, or you can do it when you get home, but just get out of the way now. It is due at midnight, 11:55. Cool. Thanks, folks. Thanks for staying a little longer. Cool. Thanks, Jeff. Really appreciate it. Yeah, like if we want to, stay for an hour, I'm back here. We'll sort of play by ear for
Yeah.
all of those. Flip the
So we can look. I've only stayed at Syracuse a couple times. It breaks out into some groups for that.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's hard for newbies.
Yeah, we typically get rolling like 6, sometimes 6:30. We'll sort of play by ear. Like you said, see how things are going. People are networking, it's great. Maybe an opportunity for folks to get coding and get part of the community and whatnot. But if it's not a big turnout or whatever, sometimes that's sort of more for like the Syracuse JavaScript meetups, which will be next Tuesday. So I think that would be basically every second and third Tuesday of the month. I would say anyway, like even though I might be over the head, right? Like there was a just gave a really awesome one on Node.js. Even though it's not for a little while, like it'd be challenging, right? But when they see it again, I think the next one's actually React. So yeah, like I said, it might be a little of that, but I think it's a resource. So we still play it by ear too, right? But I think
Might be a good one to bring them in one to the following. I mean, Chris is going to do a little JavaScript, but it's still basic. It's not until module 5, 6, 6.
Well, because either way, I'll be there because we're going to be recording it there. Actually, that's going to be tricky because I only have a class for recording. I'll figure it out. I know but I like to record that too. This culture will get it another day. Well, we have options. Whatever my skills are. Cool. I'll be here tomorrow as well, obviously. Wednesday and Thursday. I won't sort of really, I'll let you know for tomorrow how to get the streaming stuff is super easy. Like literally all you gotta do is plug that HDMI into that device, and then when the HDMI comes out, you plug it into your laptop. And
So it's like a little
yeah, basically,
in between the ones.
yeah, and you can put it here, put it on the table, wherever. I have another 25-foot HDMI, and really the only thing will just be like a webcam or something going around here, so they'll figure that one out. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is just the actual audio and the slides. They'll be all set, and then you won't do anything else. All you got to do is enter a little key, and you click start, and it's out.
They go fast.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. I really think a big piece of it is sort of going to be the,
Got some DVDs too. Some computers.
yeah. I don't know. You know, everything is part of it. At the end of the day, you know, Mac is just for a all environment. Somebody has to take it easy.
Thanks for coming. And there's Dana. Watch out for her.
What I do?
Maybe the All-Star. Did you do it? I went home and I did it. I mean, I did it there, but I did it again at home. And I was like, damn, I know nothing about electricity, but I follow along. Watch out. I'm just following tutorials. Like,
You know, a really cool capstone you can honestly do is like doing something with like smart homes and whatnot. I mean, if you want to like get a stipend and like get a smart bulb or something like that. So someone actually at OpenHack, Ben Landon, if he's there tomorrow, made an app where if you push code, so like we'll learn more about this, but your code can basically either pass or fail. And if it fails, that's bad because things are broken and the website will be down. And so if it fails, the light goes red, saying, hey, your website's broken. If it's green, it means it passes, then the light turns green.
it's gonna be a lot of
Pretty
red.
nifty project.
It's gonna be a lot of red.
So I'm just some possibilities into what you can do. But if you can think of it, you can do it. So cool. That's all I got.
Okay, so it looks